it's amazing how easy we allow people to take our rights away. And what do I mean by that? What is the one way people can control you easy? It doesn't have to be government. It could be people. It could be business. It could be your friends. It could be your enemies. How can they control you? When they make you fear something, it allows people to do and say whatever they need to say to manipulate you, to control you. Now today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about 5 ways that you can easily be manipulated, that you've already been manipulated the last few years, but what we're going to see is that is how freedoms will easily slip away here in America. 5 things to fear, and when you fear them, it allows you to be controlled. That is how easy it is for someone to have their will, have their way, and you are the one that's going to pretty much have to suffer because of that. Then we're going to talk about the solutions of how we can not live in fear. Let's jump into it. Today's video is going to be good, and it starts right now.
I would give it all away to do it all again. Make our love a story.
Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so much for being here today. If you're new to our channel, we hope that you enjoy our content. Give us a thumbs up. It does help us stay on the algorithm. Our goal is to share what we talk about here as a common sense approach to a crazy world that we live in, and then also make sure we are homesteading, prepping, and living sustainable, because that helps us be more free and more independent. So let's jump into today's content, talking about fear and how when we fear something, then we lose control of our own freedoms a lot of times because we allow people to manipulate us. It has happened already and will continue to happen because it is a good game plan to make you pretty much do whatever they say. Now let's jump into it. Before we do, this article that we're getting our information from is from Zero Hedge. It's a phenomenal write, and I think that it's worth your read. If you want to go back, check it out on Zero Hedge. But Franklin D. Roosevelt said, on a personal level, decisions made under emotional duress of fear are rarely the best ones and often the worst. Fear can bring out the best in us, but can often bring out the worst. That's more likely to occur the more fragmented a society becomes. Listen to this. This is unbelievable. Fear among different groups of people creates a us versus them, a context, or a every man for himself attitude, which pits one group against another, or even each of us against each other. When we're not together, we're separated, and that's how they can control. Now elevate that sense of fear to a level of a national electorate. A people or a nation that is paralyzed with fear makes rash decisions based on their fears and what could happen or not necessarily happen, or what the current situation truly is. Base instinct determines our behavior. So you see how easy it is to control. If we make a climate of fear, as it says in this article, then it allows us to be controlled, because then we believe that we're in danger, or these people are out to get us, or we believe that I'm all on my own. When we have that mentality, we kind of reserve ourselves. We understand that, hey, we're willing to go through whatever we've got to go through to make it better. Well, that's what happens. We get to a point where we're controlled based on the fear that we put in our own minds that has been propagated by, whatever goes on in our world. So here's a list to start off, and these are things that's been thrown your way to make you think, well, it could get worse, or it is worse, or we need to listen to what they're saying because, they know what they're talking about. They're the experts. Of course, the city's number one would be crime and disorder. This is happening all around us. Even in our small city, there's, you hear all the situations where there's things that go down and police are called, and it makes you fear. So what do? We tend to reserve ourselves and say, well, we don't know who we can trust. It's dangerous out there. There's more calamity. We need more police. We need a military state. We need someone to take care of us because I don't know if we're safe. Our car's on the street and they're getting broken into. There's a study that showed that in San Francisco, there was less than like 3% of businesses that are retail businesses not broken into in the heart of San Francisco. So that makes you fear. It makes you say, you know what, how safe is my car? How safe is my goods? How safe is my home? Should we hunker down? Should we not go anywhere? So it restricts our movement. It restricts the way we think, our parameters to say, Can we trust each and every individual that we're literally walking beside in the supermarket? So then it becomes where we're not worried about community. I'm not talking to that person. I'm not doing that. I'm not going there. We become secluded and we become controlled because we're saying, you know what, I want to limit my movement. I also don't want to trust this person because if I say, hey, how are you? He may come towards me and then all of a sudden here I am in a situation where I'm going to lose what I've got. We build that. That's a fear. Now, is that true that this guy can't just say, hey, how are you? And you say, hey, great, we're doing wonderful. Especially in the South, we talk and say, hey, how you doing? Wave. But a lot of times we've gotten to where we're scared to do that because we're scared there's going to be some kind of crime. There's going to be some kind of calamity. We can't trust this person. And then all of a sudden, then it puts us another fear into us. So where then we see police, we see this National Guard or military state, then we realize maybe we've taken too far. Are we in our own little prison? I think of the 15-minute city pushes. I think of the pushes of constraint of movement of people, especially the last few years when they couldn't go out of their homes because of a certain thing. That was because too much government overreach into our life. Then if we don't have enough, we have a crime state. So it's either like a totalitarianism or a anarchy. Both are bad, so it makes us say, I don't know if we can trust too much power or not enough power, and we have criminality. So that's a way that we can fear, because then it makes us seclude ourselves in, not talk, not have community, and we're scared to death to even walk outside. Think of the supply chain. Number two, we tend to see, okay, well there's harvest failures, there's droughts, there's less water, there's more cost in it. So most of the time in bad situations, you know, food companies do better, groceries do better. They don't struggle. Because why? Because everybody's running to do that panic buying, or they're coming to hoard. Now, as a prepper, I put a lot of food up. I grow a lot of food. Our goal is to always be prepared, even in good times and bad, so that way, no matter what we're going through, we have what we need. And that's as a homesteader too. Our goal is to raise our farm to make sure it's taking care of us in the goods and the bads. But for most people, they go day by day, week by week, and that's all they buy. So then when something like a fear happens, what do? We run and go crazy at the local store fighting to get our own food. I mean, Black Friday, again, I've made this comment. Black Friday is so absolutely horrendous. I never go because it blows my mind that people fight over toys and acting like it's going to be the end of the world if they don't get it. They will literally have fights on Black Friday over toys for Christmas. So when we see that kind of movement of supply chain issues, when it becomes serious and there is a shortage of food, or the cost of food is much, or the fact there's a bad storm, or there's a situation where it's causing a catastrophic event in America, people go crazy, and it's a us versus them mentality. But if they can put that in your mind to say, hey, there's food shortages, there's not only food shortages, you won't have enough food to feed your family. Did you hear that? It allows you to say, you know what, oh, it triggered something. Oh, my family, I've got to take care of them. Now, I tell you about food shortages all the time, of ones that are coming and ones that have been told in the news. It's not to make you panic buy, it's to make you prepare for those times, because they're going to get worse. Do you honestly believe things are getting better? I don't think so. So when we talk about the supply chain issues, there really, truly are supply chain issues. But here's the thing. The solution is not to go nuts and go crazy when it's bad. It's to start preparing before it even happens. So right now, you can walk into the supermarket. You can bulk buy. You can grow gardens. So you better start, so then when it gets worse, you're ready for it. Remember, if they can push the fact that supply chain issues are bad, who steps in and helps that? What happens in Chicago? What happened? We talked about this. There was a situation where all these grocery stores are moving out, and guess what? The government came in and said, look, we will provide your grocery store for you. I think that we need a government-owned grocery store. Do you see how easy that was? It made you see the damage because of the crime and problems in the city. People wanted the government to step in. Government then steps in, so therefore they have everything that you need at their beck and call. That means they can set policy before you come in there and shop. So if they say, hey, you have to wear this, then you have to wear that. So you can't pay with cash, you can't pay with cash, because they can control it and they're big enough to make that happen. Do you see that happens? Your freedoms leave all because you feared in something and you were not prepared for it when it came. That's a big concern. Number two, supply chain issues, and it will make us fear. Yes, it is happening, but it's not to a point where there's no food. So right now you start stockpiling, you start buying, and you start prepping to make sure when that time comes, you're not looking for the government grocery store. CBDC is coming. Number 3, digital currency. Well, what happens is we think that cash is no good now. So then we just go and we put it all in banks. Or we don't want to use cash because it's deadly, it's dangerous, it's going to be worthless one day. And it could very well be, but that's a long time in coming. They can't just all of a sudden change a switch and your cash is worthless. It will cause a major situation in America because a lot of people still have cash. From the poor to the elites, people keep cash because they like the fact that they can control what they buy and have the freedom of it. If you remember a few years ago, it became dirty money. You know, it's dangerous. There's going to be some kind of sickness on it. Remember that? So everybody said, well, we don't want to use cash. We're not going to take cash. We're going to use only plastic, which is funny because, you know, the same kind of disease can lay on your plastic too. But anyways, beside the point. The control elements are already starting. You're seeing fast food places say, well, we don't want to take your cash. It's a little dangerous. We want to use only digital currency. We want to use credit cards only. When we see that happening, it makes us fear. So therefore, we say, you know what? Should we just go ahead and turn in our cash and go ahead and put it in the bank because cash is dangerous? Should we not buy that gold because we see that the government's going to give us more if we do the CBDC? So then what happens? CBDC is controlled by the government and by the Fed. They know exactly what you're purchasing at all times. What if they wanted to restrict you from eating beef this week because you've had too much? What if they wanted to restrict you from buying brass and self-defense tools because you don't need that? What if they restrict you and saying, you know what, you can buy the garbage grocery store food, but yeah, the Whole Foods thing, it's a shortage. We don't need to take that away from, you know, we don't need that kind of balance. We don't need that broccoli today. We don't need this kind of lamb today. We don't need you eating this kind of chicken today. We need you to eat this today. You don't believe that will happen? If someone controls your money, they control you. Remember, the borrower is slave to the lender. We always owe tax. If our cash is not our cash and it's then the government's cash and they're giving it to you as a stipend, you know, to where you say, oh, here's your amount for the day. Don't you believe that can cause you to lose some of your controls of your own money? Think about that. No freedom when you don't have a parallel society like cash. Don't look towards Bitcoin because remember, Bitcoin is getting right involved with BlackRock. They're getting right involved with the ETFs and the movement with the SEC. You're going to see that parallel money come right under the government's watch, and they're going to know what's going on too. So we have to stick up for cash. Buy as much as you can with cash, buy local, barter as much as you can, and understand that CBDC is coming. They want that because that gives them another control element. But if they can make you fear it already before it comes, then they can make you put your money away, start using just plastic only because, you know, money's dirty, cash is not going to be any good, and therefore you're already ripe for the harvest. Number 4, the world is going into war. That's what we say. We fear that. Well, everything's ramping up towards. We've kind of been thrown the fact that, hey, there could be a draft. Our numbers are on very crisis levels. You know, we're needing more. We need to send more money to Ukraine because of the dangers of the Soviet Union, which is unbelievable. And then all of a sudden, we see the fact that now Russia is ramping up, China's getting involved, North Korea is getting involved, Iran is getting secrets of ours and intelligence. So it makes us say, oh my gosh, we fear that. It's scary. Well, truthfully, it is. The thing I go back to is this. If we believed that war was bad and we shouldn't go to war, why has every president really in the last, 40, 50 years been in some kind of conflict other than one? Because if they can control you based on, well, there could be an existential threat to America. If they can make you believe you're always got to live in fear because there's always wanting someone to bomb you, then therefore it makes them be able to do whatever they want to do with your tax dollars, send it to wherever they want to send it, kind of like Ukraine, and they can kind of always make you believe that there's bad guys all across the world. Well, there is bad guys across the world, but you know what you do when there's a bully across the world? You become stronger and you start training yourself to be better. So America, instead of worrying about giving money to the guy and instigating more war because they want the control and power, they should be standing up and saying, you know what? We're going to build our infrastructure. We're going to be more independent. We're going to build our arsenals for ourselves, and we're going to make sure we're training the very best of the best. Not worried about what color they are, what they call themselves, but building elite soldiers. There you go. Then you won't have to fear it. You won't have to worry about the threats of the world, because when we have a strong status in the world, no one wants to pick on the big guy. They're going to keep trying to pick on the little guy, but the big guy can always stand up for the little guy without money. All he's got to do is say, we're done. But instead, when we become weak, and when all this other starts happening and more calamity happens, it makes all the bad players across the world start showing signs of war and dictatorship. Absolutely, that's what's happening. But all it took was us being stronger. Again, I go back to, why has every president put us in war, especially in the recent history, other than one? Because if they know you fear an existential threat and there's a bad guy across the world, you believe the U.S. is a good guy and you're going to listen to whatever they say. Number 5, I'm scared of you giving bad information. The UN Security General said we want to silence anyone who dares to stand in the way of our global power. We need to look at the information that is going across social media, and we need to downplay that. We've heard that from this administration too. Well, you're giving the wrong information. That's not freedom of speech. That's a bad opinion, and that's pure hate. Do you see that happens? Look at our social media. It did come out that Elon Musk has enough satellites to cover America, especially with the internet, and really the world. So it pretty much makes it where he's uncancelable based on what he did. However, we have the government siding with a lot of other companies to help silence Americans. When has there ever been a time where Americans should have been silenced? But we hear in our mind, we hear the terms dis or miss or bad information, and what that does is makes us kind of throw that off. Well, remember, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's entitled to freedom of speech. That's pretty much the First Amendment. We have those freedoms. But if we move ourselves only to a digital platform, to where all we do is talk on a digital platform, for that digital platform to be ghosted, censored, and to be controlled by the powers that be, do you honestly believe that is freedom? For instance, us. If you remember, I told you a few weeks ago we were hacked on Facebook. Well, we were hacked on Facebook, and of course we finally got our channel back, and then we just deactivated it. I'm not missing anything by not being on Facebook. Do I miss some conversations or some local stuff that's going on? Maybe. But the fact is, am I willing to give up my freedoms and give up the chance of me being hacked again just because I wanted to read something for the day? Sometimes we have to say, you know what, I've got to make sacrifices, because when we put ourselves out there, then we always have to worry about who knows what about us. How much freedom are we losing? Because if I say something wrong, that message is not going to be sent because it's got some information in it that shows freedom, but it's against the status quo. So number 5 would be the control of media, from the legacy media to even social media. When we see it all the time, propaganda and psyop, it makes us fear. But then also, if we try to speak out against something that we may believe in, even if it's not wrong or right, it may just be your opinion. Remember, you have an opinion, and it's okay to be wrong or right. You're stating your opinion. That's why it's yours, not anyone else's. But when that's censored, that's showing that you may not have the freedom that you thought you had. If we can make all these 5 things, and there's several more, this article nails them. If you can fear something or to make you feel like you're in danger based on cities, based on existential threats like Russia, like China, and again, I'm not saying they're not bad guys, but I'm saying we can make you believe that the Middle East is wanting to bomb us all the time. If they make you believe that, then therefore you live in fear. Say something's coming new and it's going to be worse than 2020. They can make you fear. If they believe the cities are getting worse and they're not doing anything to help it, they can make you fear and stay right in your home, and then you lose community. You don't want to go to church. You don't want to go to the grocery because you're scared everybody's out to get you. Do you see how that is? You start losing freedom all because of what's been told to you. And when we fear something, we're willing to say, please help me so I could be safe. We play on the emotions of people too much. Now, when I do these videos, and I know I will get comments saying, well, you do the same thing when it comes to prepping. I don't. I'm telling you to start preparing for these things, so therefore when you have cash and gold and you have food and you have the fact that you don't need to worry about anything because you have bartering, you've paid off your debts, you see that there's dangers, you start putting start putting things up for your safety and taking care of your family, then these things don't influence you the most. They don't impact you that much. You don't have to go panic buy. You don't have to do any of that, because then you're not controlled as easy. You don't fear. Now, most of all, I would challenge you more than anything to find peace spiritually. When you find peace spiritually, you won't fear at all, because you know no matter what happens here, it doesn't matter. You want to take care of your family, you want health, but ultimately your peace always comes for Christ. So more than anything, the only way to get out of true scarcity and fear is finding peace in Christ. So I challenge you to do that. If you don't believe in Christ, I believe you should believe in Christ. And I believe if you just have an open mind and say, you know what, I'm going to learn a little bit more about Jesus, I promise you, it will make you become something way more than you are, because it's not about you anymore. It's not about the fear anymore. It's not about what the government can tell you. It's about living differently. And you take care of your family different. You look at the world different. Yes, there are struggles, there are stresses, but ultimately, it helps you not fear. Thank you for putting up with my video today. I want you to realize that there are fears and there's psyops and propagandas. There's bad things that actually do happen. All this stuff together, though, allows them to take one step closer over overreach and control of you and all the things that you love dearly. If it be your family, your food, your money, your security. It's all about making sure that they know what's going on always, and your freedoms are slowly leaving you. Don't fear. Trust in Christ, and know that you can make it through any and everything, no matter if it's real or fake. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.
And I wanna take you there.